Like so many other cities, Fresno, California has undergone enormous change over the past 100 years. Much of this has come about as a result of three factors: population change, the environment, and urbanization. And while each of these is often analyzed separately, it is the dynamic, constantly shifting interplay among all three that is perhaps most significant.
One of the painful things for those of us who enjoy living in cities is that there's no free lunch when it comes to urban development. If you are going to create a city, you impact the natural environment in a negative way. The development of some of our favorite cities, San Francisco, which advertises itself as everyone's favorite city. The creation of San Francisco virtually destroyed the Sierra in terms of ruining its ecology, setting off terrible problems of pollution, denuded its forests.
In parts of Asia, the greatest threat to the environment is explosive population growth.
Shanghai, there are already 13 million people, and in Beijing is 15 million people, and in Hong Kong, we are having 8.3 million people. Definitely, yeah, the more people you have in Hong Kong, the more air pollution, because you need to travel, you build up more roads, that more people get into their car to drive. So this is a very bad cause and effect here. The major pollutant source will be vehicular emission here, particularly those buses, minibuses and taxis, what we call the fleet buses or the fleet vehicles in Hong Kong.
Cities hurt nature. One of the things we've learned in the last 50 years is that we can't keep on doing this. And the reason is that the end of nature means the end of cities. It means the end of us. We are embedded in nature, even though we exhaust nature in order to make our lives possible. So people ask the serious question, how can we have cities impact nature, but impact it in a more benign way or in a less disastrous way? And simple things like dealing with pollution runoff, factory runoff into rivers and streams is one modest mechanism through which urban development doesn't need to have such disastrous consequences.
You can educate people and try to change their behaviors. Recycling is a great example of the way humans have changed their behavior and are capable. If we can do the same thing with some of these causes of urban runoff as we've done with recycling, we'll have a success. The other side of it is regulating and creating rules that will prevent some of these urban runoff problems. That includes land use practices and development too. There are ways we can treat our watersheds in such a way that even if we do tend to pollute them, that those pollutants don't make it straight to the beach.
There are a number of ways in which people in cities who are increasingly aware of the consequences on the natural environment, there are numbers of ways in which they've gone about trying to do a better job of urban development and make things more benign than they otherwise would be. One is to try to restrict the growth of the city in geographic terms. That is to impose what are sometimes called urban limit lines. That is to draw a circle around existing development or maybe a bit out from that and say no further. The other thing to do is to affect what stuff is made of in the first place. So, for example, lead paint has been eliminated from the United States. It's still in some old buildings, but no one can buy and use lead paint anymore except under some very special industrial circumstances. And so by changing the nature of paint, we have altered what we do to the earth.
But perhaps the single most important contribution to the cause of environmental protection is the growing awareness that the environment, much like the economy, is a global rather than simply a local or regional issue.
Environmental hazards in one part of the world will have impacts and implications in other parts of the world. The forest fires in Brazil are likely to have microclimatic changes elsewhere. The air pollution from China will be taken downwind into Japan and other parts of the world. So it's one neighborhood, and the environment makes neighbors of us all.